Good day, it is I, Lord Pendlebury, and welcome to Evolution Sim Racing for round 2 of Season 2 2024 of the Evolution Sim Racing Championship. See how many times I can say Evolution Sim Racing in that intro. Now, before we crack on with the highlights, which we'll be doing very shortly, if you would like to come and get involved, take a look at those reasons down there, and if that appeals to you, visit the website that's just down there, evolutionsimracing.com. And you can find your way to our Discord, and we will be happy to have you. Now, this is a semi-continuation of the video that we did for round 1, in that it's of the same night. We have 2 rounds per night, the sprint race and the feature race. This is the feature race, and when I say they're highlights, it's not highlights at all, it's just me basically watching it back, and yeah, you can watch along too. And if you can bear it, listen to my insufferable commentary. So, we are going to meander our way to the track. And if I could just about find OBS, I'll be able to take you to the track as well. Now, you can see there that they are starting to grid up, and you can also see the windscreen wipers are wiping, and despite a 15% chance of rain, there is going to be rain. So that 15% chance, well, you wouldn't bet on it, but it's happened. Right, let me stop killing time whilst I was waiting for the music to stop at an appropriate place. Get over there, and let's bring up that race information. So we are at Brands Hatch. It is either 26 degrees air temperature and 19 degrees track temperature, or the other way around. As you can see there, it doesn't actually specify which way around. Actually, the weather, it does specify it. It's weather 26 degrees, track temperature of 19 degrees, 45% chance of rain there, but that's incorrect. But the biggest news is we are now starting the pros at the start of the grid and the AMs at the back of the grid, just to try and avoid a little bit of chaos in these feature races. Of course, mandatory pit stop in the feature races. And of course, oh, well, I haven't even had a chance to run through the grid yet. That is Dan Slattery going around, that's Axel Edwards going round. I think we also had Paul Nicholson going round in amongst all of that. That's not ideal then, and this was the next thing I was going to say, because the practice session beforehand was, despite a little bit of rain in the air, a little bit of rain falling, oh, there goes Chris Hulse, he's been around there before, oh, and that's Pendlebury into the side of him, Brian Dodd gets involved too. You might be wondering why on a outlap, pace lap, prior to the race start, nobody is keeping it on the island. Well, it was a real gamble between dry tyres and wet tyres. And as you can see, well, you can see from the people that aren't keeping it on the island, they are the people on dry tyres. There are some, though, like these guys at the front, on wet tyres that are simply going, well, look at that, Jeff Sharp showing off. He can do that without spinning out. No, not many people could do that at the dries. There goes Chris Palmer into the barriers. Not ideal for a bit, but oh, Pendlebury's almost lost it. Chris Hulse into the barriers. Dan Slattery into the barriers as well. Let's see what happens to Jamie Nicholson. He's into the barriers on the opposite side. Dear, oh dear. Dan Slattery's gone to the pits, but oh dear, look at that front left on Chris Hulse. Several people have made errors here on their choice of tyres. Now, I mean, as for the starting order, let's try and run through it quickly. So, I mean, it was Jamie Nicholson, but it's now Will Thomas, then Jeff Sharp, then we have Steve Moore. We then have Ricky Worrell, who's somehow on dry tyres, but has managed to make it all the way through to the end. We've then got James Hurlow, Brian Dodd, Travis Dorado, Pendlebury, no, not Hurlow, that's Levy, but there's a few going to be peeling off. You can see there, Ricky Worrell's gone into the pits, as has Pendlebury, as has Josh Levy. And they are off. A very sparse looking grid there. There were 17 cars out there. We have lost Stephen Lacotta, I believe, from the first race. Hasn't returned for this one. But, oh, that is for the second time in 2 laps. Paul Nicholson going round down Paddock Hill Bend. Back to the front then. Or sort of back to the front. Will Thomas has stormed off. Let's bring up some race info. And you can see loads of people in the pits there. In fact, it's only the top 9 that are still out on track. James Hurlow being passed there by Brian Dodd. James Hurlow also being passed there, or starting to be passed there, by Travis Dorado. They are side by side as they go on to the GP section of the track. Pilgrims drop Hawthorne Hill and eventually to Hawthorne Bend. Round they go. Everybody now, I think, is on wet tyres. Though I do believe there was some mix-up in the pit. Oh, Pendlebury and Levy getting close there. They're just about to avoid each other. Pendlebury clearly had some pace in the first race, but once again, issues with his pit crew. Just a reminder, we won't be showing replays live as we watch this. We will review the replays at the end, otherwise the timing gets very confusing. Now, let me see if I bring up the tyre compound information, whether that actually tells you... Nope, that tells you nothing. It just basically makes the information section for your name, for the interval, a little bit wider. So can't actually tell who is on wets and dries, but I do think most people at this point are now on wet tyres. Pendlebury taking a look up the inside of Chris Palmer there. Can't quite get the move done. This is one of two particularly. Oh, that's Chris Palmer going round, so Pendlebury does get the move done. An easy one for him. Oh, that's Josh Levy out wide, allowing Jamie Nicholson through. And Jamie Nicholson also looking to capitalise on Chris Palmer's poor form, but they're going to make it to that final corner just before they can. This is James Hurlow and Travis Dorado. Looks like Pendlebury's just got past Steve Everson to put himself up into 9th, but Hurlow, lovely move there on Travis Dorado. Looks like Hurlow was struggling to get a bit of temperature into those tyres in that first lap, but he is coming back now and currently in 4th place. Oh, that is Chris Palmer spending most of his time sideways at the moment. Jamie Nicholson almost does exactly the same thing, but just about manages to avoid it. I've just had a horrible thought. Have I switched us to... I have. For a minute I thought it was just me presenting, me commentating. Made my blood run cold. Did not want to restart doing this. And I don't have to. Here is Steve Moore. And it's no longer Steve Moore. We are currently focusing on crashes, so it does make sense that we're looking at Chris Palmer, as he has spent most of his time crashing in this one so far. So Axel Edwards has just passed Brian Dodd. Brian Dodd off in the green stuff, but Axel Edwards, shrewd move. He did start on dry tyres, but jumped back to the pits to get onto the wet tyres, and that has paid dividends. Currently circulating in 6th place, 18 seconds off of Travis Dorado, but 6th place still good, and that is 2nd in class. Oh, Steve Moore almost going round. Paul Nicholson going round as well. Oh, Paul Nicholson jumps back to the pits. Had enough, I suspect. There are Chris Palmer, round he goes again. I'm not sure what his incident count is. I don't think the incident count is particularly accurate on this. I will bring it up though, just for shits and giggles. That's if I can spot it without my glasses on though. Meanwhile, Dan Slattery looking to make a move on Anthony Marriott. And through he goes as they go around Surtees. Oh, runs out wide onto the grass though. Anthony Marriott going to switch back, is he? Not quite. You can see there's not a lot of rain. There is some rain falling, but doesn't feel like a particularly wet track. But you can see there's a hell of a lot of spray coming off, nowhere near slick tyres. Still desperately trying to find a incident count. They might have removed it, you know. There was an update. I mean, we've got off tracks. And, oh, Pendlebury's got 11. Don't remember that being so bad. How on earth have I got 11? See, this is why I don't think it's right. It's showing me as having 11 and Chris Palmer only 6. I mean, I feel like we've seen Chris Palmer spinning at least 8 times so far, but, sorry, Chris. Oh, that's Levy looking a bit shifty in the background there. Manages to hold it together. We are watching Dan Slattery at the moment. Let's go and take a look at our leader, Will Thomas. Leading Jeff Sharp to the tune of 2.8 seconds as it stands. Ooh, looks like Brian Dodd is exploring. Jamie Nicholson goes past him. And I'll tell you what, that second to last corner, Stirling's Bend, is an absolute menace. Looking at that, Pendlebury has just set the fastest lap with a 150.1. That will not be the fastest by the end of this session, not by a long shot, but he is looking to close down those gaps. Currently 10.7 seconds behind Anthony Marriott, though. So here is Will Thomas. He is pulling that gap from Jeff Sharp. Oh, and I hope my headphones are telling me that they're just going to turn off, which is fun because they shouldn't be. They are in active use, but sometimes they lose the plot. So, nearly 7.5 minutes into this one, Will Thomas still leads the way. Inherited that. Ooh, watching that rear end slide out. Chris Palmer recovering yet again there. I think he's now a lap down as the leaders go past him. Chris Hulse has just got past him in the wet battle for Chris Prime. Oh, that's Chris Palmer. Where have you gone? He's okay. Oh, he's just disappeared from the track. What is going on here? Let's go to a camera angle that's actually useful. Dan Slattery now coming in with the fastest lap of the race. He's up into 6th position at this point. Axel Edwards dropped down to 7th. Anthony Marriott closing in on Axel. Pendlebury equally closing in on the both of them, so that should be a battle that is coming up in the not too distant future. That's Josh Levy looking up the inside of Anthony Marriott, trying to unlap himself. One of those caught in strife on tyre choices. Currently running in 15th, currently 50 seconds behind Chris Hulse in 14th, who in turn is 25 seconds off the back of Brian Dodd. It's going to be a long old race for those guys, unfortunately. Oh, that is Axel Edwards. He has taken a spin, and despite those early stages, that's Pendlebury going through as well. He's down into 9th. Doing the right thing though, waiting until a safe point to rejoin the track. That's Ricky Worrell, race 1 winner. He goes through as well, so everyone jumps up a position. Edwards back down into 11th, and there's something going on at the front. That's Jeff Sharp, and that is Will Thomas. Will Thomas, as it states in the incident logger, he went off track. Looks like he spun a fair bit because he was about 3 seconds ahead of Jeff Sharp. He's now 4.5 seconds behind Jeff Sharp. Jeff Sharp, of course, last season's championship winner in both pro class and overall. So he will very much be looking to defend that title this time around. And Will Thomas helping him out there. Meanwhile, in the battle for third place, Steve Moore and James Hurlow. Something's gone on there, I feel. Steve Moore, something has happened. Where? I'm confused. They were showing us very close. Oh no, I'm getting confused. Never mind. I'm getting confused. It's Chris Hulse behind him. Not James Hurlow. Let's have a look and see what is close on track. Anthony Marriott side by side with Pendlebury. This is for 7th place. Pendlebury sweeps around the outside though. That is where the grip is on when it is in wet conditions. When he now steams ahead. Jamie Nicholson has just got past Axel Edwards and going off the pace of Axel Edwards. I'd suggest he's had another spin, and yeah, the incident logger confirms that. So we have got an awful lot of things to go and have a look back at the end of this race. Not overly close anywhere in the battles out on track at the moment. We have Will Thomas is closing that gap back down to Jeff Sharp. He has already, in the space of a lap, closed down by a second. Take a look at the number of pit stops people have made then, and something we've heard from our pit lane reporter. There were a number of teams that, despite wanting to come in for wet tyres, dry tyres were put back on the car, and it's not a quick pit stop in these. 34, 35, 36 seconds you're looking at to change all 4 tyres. So Anthony Marriott is apparently one of those, though actually going off of the amount of time behind the leader he is, I'd suggest he may not have made 2 stops. Chris Hulse and Josh Levy making 2 stops makes sense. Maybe I'll stop improvising and playing with overlays that clearly seem to be misinformed. Ricky Worrell is getting close to Steve Everson here. Round 30s they go. Let's look at the different lines. Worrell trying the tighter, drier line, or the tighter line that you would use in the dry, I should say. Has lost him a little bit of time though, and in turn Steve Everson is closing the gap on Anthony Marriott. This looks like it could be a tasty little battle that's lining up there. Will Thomas with a 1:49.4 to set the fastest lap of the race so far. What's Worrell going to do here? Here we are, jumping on board with Worrell. Oh, that's Anthony Marriott. He is out to the left. Worrell throws a bit of a dummy up the inside there. Steve Everson. Takes a look up the inside of Clearways, but can't get the job done. Looks like we've got Josh Levy in the pits. Axel Edwards looks like he's in the pits. Or maybe it was Axel Edwards going into the pits. Who knows? Down through Paddock Hill Bend they go. And then up to Druids. Oh, look at them squirming around on the AstroTurf. And for the moment at least, Steve Everson doing a good job of holding Worrell off. But that said, he's had a pretty poor exit out of Surtees, and Worrell has the inside line. Under the bridge they go, up towards Hawthorns. And up the inside, Ricky Worrell goes, gets the job done. Steve Everson not going to give up though without a fight. But Worrell carries some superior speed as they go through Westfields. And looks like he has now got that move done. So that is Ricky Worrell in the course of a lap or two past Marriott, past Everson, and up into 8th place. Just the 6 seconds behind Pendlebury at the moment. And, well, that's tumbling down very quickly. Now 5.5 seconds. I think Pendlebury must have had an issue there. Of course, Worrell and Pendlebury were battling away hard in that first race. Worrell will undoubtedly want to get the better of him again. And let's take a look at Will Thomas, because we haven't checked in with the leaders for a few laps. And you can see that gap has come right down. On board with Will Thomas, and you can see Jeff Sharp there, and you can see the difference in lines that they're taking. And in that instance, that has cost Will Thomas a little bit of time. Anthony Marriott has stopped for what I believe will be his fuel pit stop. The pit window will have opened very recently indeed. Oh my good. Oh, that's Will Thomas. He's really leaving everything out on track at the moment. I've just realised something that the camera light has gone off, which means it's probably left me frozen in a rather amusing way. So let me just sort that out. So oh well, it's just disappeared. So oh, never mind. Who needs my ugly mug on it anyway? Oh, ah, that's a shame for you guys, because the cat's just come and sat in my lap, because I'm sure that's what you want to be watching. Do you mean USB? Oh, I don't know what's going on, but something's going tits up with the computer. Let's hope it isn't anything too serious. Oh, that is not what we want. That's a terrible... Oh, Will Thomas. Really driving the hell out of his GR86. He is closing that gap though, despite the balls out nature of his driving. Now under 0.7 of a second. So they come up towards Druids. He is now right on the back of him, just 0.4 of a second, and he's got a good exit there. Up the inside, up to Surtees. Jeff Sharp does have a slightly better run, though, around that outside. Difficult getting your passing done. Anthony Marriott stays well out of the way as they charge down towards Hawthorns. So to say, Will Thomas is far happier, or is far more keen to explore the dry lines in search of pace. And you have to say, the way he's closed the gap back up to Jeff Sharp, it is paying off for him. Slides round. Looking up the inside as they come down towards the main straight. They are side by side across the line. who's going to be the last on the brakes. Will Thomas should get the move done. He will have the faster line. Oh, I tell you what. That is an outrageous move from Will Thomas there. Absolutely brilliant move for first place. Full commitment. Gets the job done. An early contender for overtaking the season there from Will Thomas. That was brave stuff. And he goes back up into the lead with that. Oh, that's a shame that battle has ended, because as it stands, I mean, it still is the closest battle on track. It's like Pendlebury, Travis Dorado's just gone in for his pit stop. Pendlebury was closing down on him. But with him going in for the pits, that will promote Pendlebury up to 6th. He'll be hoping he can keep the pace up and jump Dorado in the pit stop window. Tell you what, Ricky Borrell has been closing down Lord Pendlebury very consistently at the moment. Well, I say that, he's right out onto the grass there, but as it stands, well, the gap was 2.8 seconds. With that mistake, it's gone back up to about 3.5 seconds. There's Pendlebury in the foreground, and oh, that's somebody in the background that has just had a little bit of a spin. Here's Anthony Marriott. Ooh, out onto the grass. Is he going to keep it together? He does. That could have very easily gone round. I imagine some decent throttle control was applied there to make sure he didn't go all the way around. God, I tell you what, Will Thomas has one mode, and that is push like anything. Dan Slattery has had a crash. According to the event logger, there he is recovering. He was making some decent progress. Not sure if he's still got the fastest lap time. We'll take a look at that now. He does for the moment. He's the only person in the entire field that is into the 148s, and it's a 148.8. So impressive stuff from Slattery. Currently taking 2 points for that, but into the pits he comes. I imagine this will be for fuel. It doesn't look like he's been damaged at all in his exploits. So yeah, let's head back on track. But yeah, let's see. Any close battles there to note? And well, the answer is not really. Slattery is... Oh, Jeff Sharp. Seen some of Will Thomas's driving. Thinks, I'll have a bit of that. And really kicks the rear end out. Oh, that is James Hurlow into the barriers there. He is currently circulating in 4th place. So, he is going to cling on to that 4th place, but looking at the gaps, I mean, it's pretty safe there, but unclear on the amount of damage he's got. We can see that front end is a bit sneering. Oh, that is Brian Dodd out into the barriers. Around he goes. And Will Thomas has pitted. Jeff Sharp has also pitted. The two leaders, Steve Moore, also into the pits. You can see him just pulling in now as Will Thomas pulls away, as does Jeff Sharp. I tell you what it is doing. Oh, that is Josh Levy. Absolutely banzai run down there. Dan Slattery is close on the heels of Steve Everson as well. But Will Thomas and Jeff Sharp and Steve Moore, in fairness, have had such a big gap. In fairness, everybody does seem to be pitting. This may be the point at which you are needing to pit for fuel. I think it is, from memory. It's actually looking to the extreme outside line. Oh, he just about holds it together. The grass is treacherous in these conditions. But And he's back up into 6th place. I'm not sure how Penderbury has managed to jump it. Oh, right, no, Penderbury hasn't jumped in. Penderbury's in the pit lane and is leaving the pit lane now. So Dan Slattery now up into 4th place. James Hurlow, obviously with his error, has pitted as well. He's in 5th as it stands. Travis Dorado jumps Steve Everson as Steve Everson is leaving the pits. Brian Dodd also leaving the pits there, albeit a lap down. There is Ricky Worrell. He is going to be looking to get past Steve Everson. He had already got past Steve Everson, but I believe a spin occurred. And, well, Travis Dorado, he was running in 7th, but it's all gone a little bit wrong for him. And I think he's got some pretty major damage there. Oh, maybe he hasn't. It looked like there was a bit of a smoky engine, but it could well have just been the spray. Currently circulating in 9th is Travis Dorado. Will Thomas opening up that gap to Jeff Sharp again, up to 4 seconds. He got up to 4.5 seconds before he spun the last time. He'll be... you suspect he might be going at it a little bit easier than he was the first time round. Jamie Nicholson, I haven't seen too much from him, the pole sitter for this race. Obviously one of those that got caught out on the dry tyres. He has never really recovered, at least this far. He's currently circulating in 11th, but just over half a second behind Anthony Marriott. Jumping on board with him as we go through the back section of Brands Hatch. Two very different lines as they go through Dingle Dell, or Dingle Dell Corner. Oh, Marriott gets a little bit squirmy, and looks like Jamie Nicholson may well have the momentum to get this done. Sweeps around the outside onto the main straight. That is 10th position for Jamie Nicholson. Now, what else is occurring out on track at the moment? Looks like Ricky Worrell is has closed that gap back to Steve Everson, just over half a second, and that's coming down. And I tell you what, something is coming out, and it's not Ricky Worrell. It is the sun. The rain has stopped falling at this point. That track is going to be drying up. Sitting right in the spray on the nose of Ricky Worrell's vehicle. He's surely going to go for it here. Looks up the inside. Everson leaves him room. Back started to get away from Worrell there. Just about manages to keep hold of it. Down the main straight they go. So we're just about cropping up on 2/3 distance in this one. Will Thomas looking in command at the moment in the lead. This is the closest battle on track. This time Worrell is up the inside. He slithers a little bit out towards Everson. Tree is getting in the way of the shot. Everson not going to let go. Oh, parked it on the apex. Ricky Worrell goes right into the back of him there. Did try and get it stopped, but Worrell prizes the door open and up into 7th place. So it looks like Jamie Nicholson has been in some form of strife. We saw him getting past Anthony Marriott, but he is now 5.5 seconds behind Anthony Marriott, so I suspect a spin. Well, we'll do what they do in the F1 when nothing's happening. Let's take a look at the leader, Jeff Sharp, out there in the background. Oh, and he's gone round again. Nice little recovery there, a little J-turn at the end of it, but Jeff Sharp sweeps past him. And that, well, we know that he's got some pace, but is he going to have the pace in the following 13.5 minutes to catch back up with Jeff Sharp? It's a 3.5 second gap. Already 3.2 seconds, so you do suspect he could get back on the tail of Jeff Sharp here, but almost Dan Slattery-esque only has one mode, and that is push like hell. And whilst it has given him a couple of decent leads, it has also handed him a couple of spins through the gravel. He goes a little bit there. Oh, splashing through the puddles was Josh Levy in the background as well. I'm not sure who Josh Levy... Who are you battling, Josh Levy? Battling with Anthony Marriott. A lap down on Anthony Marriott. Just trying to unlap himself. Jamie Nicholson, only 3.2 seconds now, 3.3 seconds behind Anthony Marriott. He's slowly closing that gap back up. I tell you what, I think Jeff Sharp has made an error, because it's 2.1 seconds now, the gap to Will Thomas. You can't help but feel Will Thomas is going to be back on him within a couple of laps. I absolutely shot myself then there, because the cat was doing something behind the screen. I didn't realise the cat was there. I thought it was another spider. And you can see Will Thomas, wow, Jeff Sharp does a 1:49.7. Will Thomas almost 1.4 seconds faster on that lap with a 1:48.4. That is the fastest lap of the race, and he is now just 1.2 seconds behind Jeff Sharp. James Hurlow has apparently had a crash, and there he is recovering. No, there's a cat standing on the keyboard. Ah, cat, you've ruined everything. Dan Slattery supersedes Will Thomas's fastest lap of the race, though, with a 1:47.9. The first person into the 47s there is Dan Slattery. Oh, missed gear there from Will Thomas. You can see more willing to try and use those traditionally dry lines. And it is getting to that point. There's still a fair bit of spray coming up, but the track is drying out, which means you can start pushing onto the dry lines a little bit more. And as you can see out there, the amount he has closed up on Jeff Sharp. 10 seconds to go. Dan Slattery has crashed. There he is. We'll go back to the big battle, though. between Sharp and Thomas, and you do feel Sharp is not going to be able to hold this the charging Will Thomas off on a 1:47.6 there. Another lap where he's 1.4 seconds faster than Jeff Sharp. Looks to the inside as they go round Druids. Ooh, doesn't quite get the job done. Getting to Surtees, where we swing round to the left and out onto the GP section of the course. Just settling down a little bit now. Here's Will Thomas, just biding his time. Not an easy section of the track to see past the trees on here or get your overtaking done, which was the original point of the start of that sentence. Yeah, you can see the difference in lines. He is going to be right on him all the way down the main straight, maybe eyeing up a move into Paddock Hill Bend. He goes for it. Can't quite, I say goes for it. It looked like he went for it, was going for it. Language, words. Looking to get a little bit of an undercut there, but he will be on the outside as they go down to Graham Hill Bend. Now looking up the inside. Oh, the back slides round. I'll tell you what, a view that I think is well worth us watching is looking back from Jeff Sharp, because I imagine watching Will Thomas and his car control is going to be a feast for the eyes. Potentially not through all this spray though. Not the best time to have a look at that camera angle. Jeff Sharp does continue to lead this one. Oh, that is Will Thomas out into the grass there, leaving everything out there to try and get back past Jeff Sharp. Meanwhile, we do have Josh Levy. He is off track, allegedly. Oh, he is indeed. Looks like he's gone into the barrier. Oh, almost. Thought he was going to reverse back on track then in front of the leaders. That would have been absolutely chaotic had he done that, but held the brakes and didn't do so. Just in case you're worried that we're missing out on action in other areas of the track, then don't worry, because we're not. This is the big battle out on track at the moment, and it is for the lead. And, well, you can see there, he is right up his backside, Will Thomas. Is he going to have a look as they get down towards Hawthorne Bend? He does look to the inside. And the grip there just not quite enough to haul him alongside Jeff Sharp. can see, looking back, the amount of spray has gone down. Ooh, Ricky Worrell comes in with the fastest lap of the race, a 1:47.4. He is looking to close down Pendlebury, but 19 odd seconds between it. Oh, it is so close between Sharp and Thomas, less than 0.2 of a second. Will Thomas looking for the inside line as they come through Clark Curve. Looking around the outside, I tell you what. Oh, what a move that is. Throws it up the inside. There is a bit of a hip and shoulders. But that is the move for the lead. And with 3.5 minutes to go, that could be the win for Will Thomas if he can scamper out into the distance. I believe Will Thomas will be getting the points for laps led anyway. I don't have an overlay that I can check that on. Oh, I tell you what, I've been so busy looking at other things. Will Thomas must have made a mistake in Surtees, because they are going down towards Hawthorns. And Jeff Sharp is back past. Sometimes 2 eyes are just not enough. Missing things on screen. Ricky Worrell with 1:47.3. He is on a mission at the moment. Sets another fastest lap of the race. Now, can Will Thomas get back past Sharp? He's fallen off a little bit. He's 0.8 back at the moment. Not too long left in this one. 2-3 laps maximum. Well, I'll also do that annoying thing that commentators do during a moment where there's not much going on, and that is, if you'd like to come and join us, then visit evolutionsimracing.com. It's up in the top right hand corner of your screen at the moment, and you can come and join our Discord. We are a friendly bunch. Dan Slattery with a 1:46.9 on the fastest lap. Well, that may take some beating. It was looking on. You could the lap times are tumbling at the moment. Will Thomas now right back on Jeff Sharp. What can he do, if anything at all? Jeff Sharp just doing what he needs to do, keeping it on the island. Just making sure he doesn't make any mistakes. Jeff Sharp. And that could be enough to see him claim the victory. And I imagine... Well, I was thinking that would be white flag. I didn't see any white flag flying, though. I think it will have been white flag, though. Will Thomas looking to the inside again. This is where he got past a couple of laps ago. Side by side. Down the hill towards Graham Hill Bend. Sharp gets back in front. Will Thomas looks like he's got some decent speed as they race down towards Surtees. Sharp will take the outside line. The question is, will the grip meet him? And it does. Very nice move, Jeff Sharp. And it was so much grip there that it's afforded him half a second as they make their way down towards Hawthorns. Through Hawthorns they go. Pendlebury comes in with a 46.4. His bid for the fastest lap of the race, and that 2 bonus points that go along with it. So Jamie Nicholson has had a crash. He's running in 8th as it stands, and he's got a fair old gap back to Anthony Marriott, so should be okay after that. But looking at those, yeah, I'm not sure if he would have lost a position to Steve Everson there or not. So it looks like Jeff Sharp is going to have this, if this is the final lap, that is. Indeed it is, and Jeff Sharp takes the victory, or does he? Will Thomas looking to see what he could do at the end there. Just a gap of 0.182. A cracking race between the two of them. Undoubtedly, Will Thomas had some serious pace there. Sadly, though, for him, couldn't hold on to the lead on those 2 occasions that he had it. A couple of mistakes. Who else do we still have waiting to finish their laps? That is James Hurlow. He's coming down to the final corner. That is Pendlebury in the final corner. He sweeps round, gets dangerously close to that white line. That is to take 4th position. Steve Moore, I tell you what, absolutely brilliant result for him on his first evening's racing with us at Evolution Sim Racing, on the podium overall and equally within the pro standings. It would be impossible to not be on the podium in pro standings if you were on the podium overall. Well, let's switch to a nice scenic cam. There's Dan Slattery. He had some fun in that race. Serious speed, serious spins. Let's take a look at those results then. Well, as we saw there, Jeff Sharp taking the victory from Will Thomas by just 0.174 seconds. I could have sworn that was a slightly different gap in the timing tower, but who cares? It was then a big old gap back to Steve Moore, but as said, Steve Moore in his first meeting of Evolution Sim Racing and gets on the podium. Very well done, Steve. Congratulations on that. We then had Lord Pendlebury coming home in 4th place, the first, I believe, of the people that had started on dry tyres, so a good recovery drive from him. Dan Slattery unfortunately picked up a penalty just 2 laps from the end. He was running in 4th, but yeah, sadly for him, the penalty demotes him down a position to Pendlebury. We then have James Hurlow in 6th place with Steve Everson in 7th. Steve Everson taking the victory in the AM category. Jamie Nicholson was then in 8th despite that late spin. Anthony Marriott was then in 9th, second in class, with Chris Hulse in 10th and third in class. We then had Travis Dorado in 11th with Ricky Worrell in 12th. Unfortunately, the sprog in his life started piping up just a few laps from the end. We then had Brian Dodd in 13th with Josh Levy in 14th, Axel Edwards in 15th, Chris Palmer in 16th, and then Paul Nicholson in 17th. The final 3 there, all choosing to retire early. Well then, let us take a look at some of the incidents in that race. And this was the first of them on the pace lap. Gets on the AstroTurf on dry tyres, and that is not going to end well. And then Pendlebury goes in, then Brian Dodd as well. They had nowhere to go, both on dry tyres themselves. And had more chaos. Jamie Nicholson, same corner, out wide. Looked like he saved it, but then spun across. Well, very lucky that Steve Moore and James Hurlow weren't caught up in that one. And had this on Axel Edwards spinning round. Again, this is all on the pace lap, I believe it was, because that was when Axel jumped back to switch his tyres. Lord Pendlebury, we've seen this. Lord Pendlebury ploughs into Chris Hulse. Dan Slattery, he went off track just after Axel Edwards. It appears. Around he goes. Nice little four-wheel drift for him there. Jamie Nicholson recovering in the foreground. And then Chris Palmer, I believe this was all down at Hawthorne Bend, where it all started going wrong for people. That just standing water, I believe, is supposed to be there, but either way, a lot of people getting it wrong there. Well, you can hear the absolute carnage going on. Dan Slattery, one of those involved. Yeah, just loses that rear end and connects with Chris Hulse. Chris Hulse gets him back. There's Jamie Nicholson in the background. Let's see what happened to Josh Levy. Just running out wide there. And this was all before the green flag flew. Not sure what happened to Paul Nicholson here, but he was in a good old battle with Brian Dodd and Travis Dorado. And yeah, we did see this live. Lost it. Spins to the infield at Paddock Hill. And not too long later, well, that's the same incident. It's safe to say this could be a bit smoother. Josh Levy having a spin. God, he saved it, and then there's got to be one of the slowest accidents we've seen today. Anthony Marriott crashed. Let's see what that was all about. I think I know this script. I've seen it happen so many times in these highlights. Round he goes, Stirling's Bend. I think probably the winner of trickiest corner on the track. Chris Palmer, we saw a lot of his incidents during the highlights. And he does exactly the same at Stirling's. Round he goes. Don't think we saw this one. Paul Nicholson having a crash. And, just loses it on turning. Round he goes. Doesn't go all the way around. But, yeah, and we saw the tail end of that. He decides to retire at that point. Axel Edwards allegedly has a crash. Back when it was still raining. And, yeah, round he goes. Does he avoid going all the way around? Ooh. Just about holds his brakes there. Now, was this the excellent pass from Will Thomas? I'm unsure. Well, he goes up the inside. It was a great race-along battle between these two. And then side by side. Jeff Sharp then takes the lead. And going off of this, Will Thomas doesn't get back past quite at this stage. In between, Brian Dodd had this issue. I think it was another spin. Yep, that AstroTurf on the right-hand side sends him round. Looks like that's Josh Levy recovering as well. And then this is the move, the really brave, ballsy move round the outside of Paddock Hill Bend from Will Thomas. Definitely overtake of the day. And definitely a contender for overtake of the season. Let us see if we can just have one more look at that. See how well this camera angle shows it. Just releases the brakes a little bit earlier than Sharp, and all the way around the outside he goes, splashing through the puddles, just hoping that it'll grip on that outside curve, which it does. Excellent stuff, Will Thomas. Full of admiration for that move. Dan Slattery getting into strife here. Just gets onto the grass on the entry. Definitely gets onto the grass on the exit. Around he goes. And there's another cat shitting me up. Keeps out of the barriers though. Anything else to report? Well, there was the Will Thomas spin. He was leading the race, but round he went. And you'll see Jeff Sharp, there he is. Says thank you very much. Ultimately led to the win for Jeff Sharp. What this review is showing me is that a lot of spins. Oh, but that's a big one for Anthony Marriott. Into the barriers. Car's still running, but that front left is not pointing in the right direction anymore. Needs to go and sort his tracking out. Ooh, James Hello just gets on the AstroTurf there. Round he goes. Slattery in his pursuit of the fastest lap. Hard on the brakes as he goes up to Druids. Throws it in just a little bit too hard. And then we had the battle between Will Thomas and Jeff Sharp. As they went up towards Druids. Little bit of contact there. And in this replay we will see what happened with Will Thomas. Because we didn't catch it live because I was too busy looking at what overlays I could put on the screen. So I assume it was in Surtees that Will Thomas made the mistake. And he did, just loses the rear end a little bit there. Jeff Sharp taking the wider line there, where it was still at this point affording him more grip. And to be honest, it was still looked like it was the faster line until the end of the race. But then he was back past before Hawthorns. Couple more incidents before we got to the checkered flag then. This was Steve Everson at Surtees. Oh, just gets onto the painted stuff and that sends him round. Jamie Nicholson, this is what happened to him. Didn't impact his position. And again, just throwing it in a little bit too hard there. The rear end says no thank you. And then we had that final run to the line between Jeff Sharp and Will Thomas. Will Thomas may well have got back past him had he had another couple of laps, but Jeff Sharp was very measured in his approach to this one. So there we have it. Well, we're going to switch back to this screen, but I'm not there because for some reason the camera has just completely stopped working. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Very much appreciated. Oh, I'll tell you what I do need to do. I need to show the standings. So let's quickly have a look at that. Christ, it's 11:15. I did not want to be doing this late. Christ, I can't even speak. Where are you? Standings, there you are. Now, let us bring up... What screen do I want? There we go. Right, let's start off with AM. So, after round one, Josh Levy and Steve Everson share the lead. Both on 43 points, both on 1 win each. So that looks like it could be an exciting battle this season. And of course, we will have a new winner in the AM category this time around, as Mr. Chris Hulse has been promoted up into the pro category. Travis Dorado, he is then in 3rd place on 27, with Axel Edwards in 4th on 23. Brian Dodd just 1 point back on 22. Anthony Marriott also on 22 points. We then have Chris Palmer in 7th on 14, with Paul Nicholson in 8th on 10. On to the pro standings then. Jeff Sharp took that win in the final race and leads the championship. As said in commentary, he was last season's champion, so he'll be looking to defend that crown. He's made a good start there. He's on 35 points, just 1 point ahead of Lord Pendlebury in 2nd. Ricky Worrell then a further 3 points back in 3rd place, with Dan Slattery 6 points back in 4th. Steve Moore, excellent solid start to the season for him. 23 points, with Will Thomas just 1 point back on 22. James Hurlow's then in 7th on 20, with Chris Hulse in 8th on 10. Jamie Nicholson in 9th on 8. And Stephen Lacotta in 10th on 1 point. And then the overall standings. Jeff Sharp leads the way with Lord Pendlebury in 2nd. In fact, it is exactly the same all the way down to 7th place as the pro standings. Josh Levy is then in 8th place, leading the way in the AM category, but obviously not in the AM standings. Oh no, he is. He's joint leading in the AM standings. Steve Everson is then on 6 points in 9th. Chris Hulse is in 10th on 5 points, sharing that with Jamie Nicholson. Anthony Marriott is then in 12th on 2 points. And everybody else is in 13th place on 0 points as it stands. So yes, we will now end the stream there. So the highlights, whatever it is. Thank you very much for watching. Yeah, we will see you next week. We are going to be in the Indy Pro 2000s, I think they're called, and we're going to be at Monza. So do join us for that one. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.